Okay, thank you, colleagues. The next item is item 5 on the agenda. You'll have appreciated on the first item on the agenda that took up a considerable amount of time. There was also a considerable latitude demonstrated in terms of the management of our paper and standing orders. Given the circumstances, that's perfectly understandable. I don't see any circumstances for any other papers to do similar, so we'll get back to doing basic standard orders and talking solely to the issues within the paper. That would be helpful. Item 5 is a transformation through collaboration update, and again, you take us through that.
Thanks, convener. So the purpose of this report is to update Council on progress made since the initial report we submitted to Council in November 2025. The paper sets out the context that predated the November report to Council, then updates on subsequent progress in developing project governance and oversight arrangements, the development of the Tranche 1 business cases, governance and other arching support projects, the establishment of the Joint Staff Forum, and arrangements for communication and engagement. The paper also sets out a summary of the commitments against the £2 million Investor Save Fund received from Scottish Government and details of the supported bid process. In overall terms, good progress has been made and a high degree of collaboration is evident between our collective teams as business cases are being developed. The engagement of Stirling Council in the work has increased the potential of our work in terms of economies of scale, potential financial benefits, increased effectiveness of potential regional models of service delivery. Additionally, it is allowing us to demonstrate the potential flexibility of our model through the transitional work that's been undertaken by Clackmannanshire and Stirling Council, with the potential for Falkirk and/or other potential partners to join in the future. Finally, I just reiterate that a similar report is being presented at council meetings in both Falkirk and Stirling councils today, in line with our previous protocol. Happy to take any questions on the paper.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions for you, Nicky. So the report highlights a number of projects that are underway or in development. I wonder if you could set out some of the financial and service performance measures that will be used to, kind of assess whether these should be taken forward, and when members would be updated on, I suppose, some of these benefits from the projects under consideration.
Okay, if you'll excuse me, I'll focus a little bit on process because where we're at in terms of progress that we've made so far. So there's 8, I think it is, 8 of the overall project, 17 projects that were approved in November and now being developed collaboratively with partners. The phase that people are at just now is there are teams in place drawn from across the 3 councils on each project, and each project is looking at, it goes through a process of looking at initial mapping activity, which is the as-is state. So look at the arrangements across the 3 councils, look for similarities, differences, and so on. Officers then work to look at a range of options around a potential to be state. So that would be, are there different types of model that could be pursued, and what are the benefits across a range of areas? So just a bit highlight actually for myself. So that the benefits particularly that are focused on, it looks at both financial and non-financial benefits. So the business cases are required to set out financial benefits, highlight aspects of service sustainability, and also where service delivery is improved. So you've got a range of financial and non-financial benefits potentially. They are all assessed through the options appraisal part of the development of the business case, and then recommendations made based on that evaluation. That would be the point at which those business cases have been agreed collectively by the 3 partners, that we would then be able to submit them to the councils. Does that answer the question?
Kind of, a wee follow-up though. So as individual projects and the business cases are developed, what decisions will come back for approval from the council, and what safeguards are in place to ensure that, I suppose, local democratic accountability is maintained?
Yeah, so it follows a process that you'd be familiar with. So officers, it's just that we're doing it collectively rather than individually. So we need to get to the collective viewpoint in terms of the recommendation, but that will be the subject of council papers. So a paper will come and you will get full transparency on the business case. So you'll see the thought process, you'll see the benefits, you'll see any potential investments required, you'll see the recommended option, but of course, it would be for the individual councils to determine what the position is on that and take the decision.
And I suppose looking at the finances, we got £2 million from the Scottish Government, and our council had earmarked a certain level of funding to enable this work to take place. I'm assuming that the other councils have done the same. Will we be expecting to fully utilise all of that funding throughout the process that's ongoing?
Yeah, so different areas where the money could be used, and I've made the point on previous occasions when we've talked about particularly the council's investment potential in this area. This is going to take a wee while because it's not just doing the business case. Even if we get governance from the councils, there will then be a significant amount of work that is required to move into implementation, which will require support. And my assessment would be that will be the more expensive part of the process. So, I mean, if you look at under 427, you can see the level of current commitment in terms of the Investor Safe Fund. There'll be additional asks that will come on there just to produce business cases, but we're going to need significantly more to allow us to move into implementation should things be jointly approved by the councils.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rennie, and follow with Councillor Hamilton.
Just wondering if there's been any kind of level of third sector engagement involved in the process as well. I was thinking, like, in some of these areas, so obviously the third sector providers, and they may be in different local authority areas, and they may have some anxieties about what this will mean for them with commissioning processes moving forwards.
So, not at this stage, but I'll caveat that because we're in the business case development process. As I mentioned, there'll be options produced. The options may be different models that may involve different providers. So the outcome isn't necessarily that it's a joint service by 2 councils, 3 councils, a broader range of partners. It could be that it's an alternate way of providing those current arrangements that would better meet the needs of all partners. So at that point, that will be part of the evaluation of the business cases, and the options appraisal. To do that properly, of course, there would need to be engagement to understand what capacity there is, for instance, and whether or not that would be possible. So it will naturally occur through the process where it's appropriate, depending on the particular area that's being reviewed.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Harrison. No, Harrison. Did I say hello? It's Councillor Harrison. I'm looking at Scott while I'm saying it. Councillor Clinton.
Thanks. That ITS spending, what's the process for that? What body is looking at the bills?
So we basically, it's a bit like a grant. So that when we accepted the funding, we signed up to a monitoring and reporting set of arrangements. So we provide regular reports into Scottish Government on spend and commitments. We have a wee standard template, and it's one of our standard agenda items on our programme board.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McTaggart.
Thanks, convener. Nikki, how closely are we aligned with our partners, and are all partners in the same space as each other as regards to business cases and agreed outcomes?
So the process that we've been through means that all the work that we're doing jointly at the moment are things that we've all agreed on we would want to progress. Well, so it was, as you know, the Tranche 1 proposals came from just the work that's done between Falkirk and ourselves. However, when Stirling Council came on board as a partner, they had reviewed all of those areas, looked at our prioritisation of those and to see if they had a different prioritisation. So that's actually introduced a new dynamic for us, because when we did the ranking on the Tranche 1, there were some things that we actually would have ranked more highly than Falkirk colleagues. But we agreed through compromise, we got to a place of, you know, sort of a bit of consensus building and built out the list that we shared with yourselves. When Sterling came on board, there were some of the things that we wanted to do more quickly. They also wanted to do more quickly. So what we've been able to do is kind of mix and match a wee bit. So you've now got the things that all three of us are doing together, and you've got transitional work where we're working just with Sterling at the moment, but with that absolute open invitation that Falkirk can join when and if they're ready, and or as could other partners. So it just shows that was the whole point with the way we established the model in the first place. And I think it's good to see that we've been able to flex it pretty quickly.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Martin.
I just wanted to ask on page 52, 4.11, and early benefits from improved alignment of service design. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? The benefits?
So at the moment, that's there as a generic comment. Just if you think about what we're going through at the moment, the areas we're focusing on are areas of shared interest where we think we could potentially work together. In terms of improved alignment of service design, there's something about, there are some service areas that we're currently looking at which naturally lend themselves to a Forth Valley regional type approach. So not only would you potentially get financial benefits from that, some of the non-financial benefits would be more standardised arrangements in terms of the administration of that. That wouldn't mitigate against still being able to have differential policy positions for the individual areas, but it would mean that from a design point of view, you know, in terms of how we structure and so on, you know, so if you think, if we look at something at the completely at the regional level, the population we're serving will be nearer to 300,000 than our current 52,000. That immediately allows you to think about how you organise in a different way. So actually you would look and you'd look how you would design the service so that you could deliver across both that, wider geographical area as well as meet the needs of a wider number of people. And by doing that, you would potentially get more efficiencies because you've got greater scale, even in the areas that are more specialised, if that makes sense. So doing it on a larger scale allows you to do it more effectively from a design point of view.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Quinn.
Nikki, forgive me if you already covered this and my mind somewhere else, but in 4.3 you mentioned that officers have submitted a public bid for 1.5 million to be added to the ITS. Did you comment on that in your opening remarks? As is promised you.
Sorry, I've got my mic on. I couldn't hear fully the question. I heard 4.3.
Yeah, 4.30. The last part you were talking about ITS money going up by 1.5 million. Did you provide that level update? Forgive my missing it if you did.
Not at all. No, I didn't. So there's no problem at all. There wouldn't have been anyway. No. So what we did was the 2 million was from the first bid round. Scottish government announced a further bid round for this current year. We have also bid into this next round as well, so an additional 1.5 million. We haven't heard back about that yet. Now, you recall when we did the first bid round, we anticipated hearing pretty rapidly and we waited quite a long time because it was a new process. And my understanding is this time that there's been a significant interest in applying for the funding. So there are quite a much larger number of bids than there was on the first occasion. So I'm personally not surprised that it's taking a wee bit longer to evaluate the bids, but we'll update in due course when we hear the outcome of that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thanks, Camilla. I guess just a wee bit of reassurance, Nicky, so that the report's going to Falkirk and Stirling Council as well. What happens if in the future one or both of the partners don't want to proceed? I just want a bit of reassurance that we will continue along that path.
So it's a really helpful question as well, because it allows us to say a bit more about how we design the model. So ideally, you need a minimum of 2 partners who wish to progress, obviously. So if it's a business case where all 3 partners are involved, if all 3 agree, perfect, we all go forward together, and still with the potential to onboard further partners in the future once you've got some traction in terms of design and delivery. If only 2 out of 3 partners agreed it, there would still be an opportunity to look at taking that forward. If only us agreed it as a council and neither of the other 2 partners were agreed to the same option or any of the options that have been presented, if this council believed that that was the right way forward, we would seek alternate partners. And the model provides for the flexibility for that. It's very much about kind of coalition of the willing and driving forward in areas with partners where it makes more sense to do.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Of
Can I piggyback on that?
course, yeah.
Thanks. So does your model allow then for you to have some arrangements that are 3-way splits, some that are 2, some that are 1 with that, and some of that? So it's complete flexibility. And that's good. It's good because we already share Stirling quite a number of things.
I'd hope it too, actually. I'd hope it too.
Involved.
Okay, if there are no further questions, thanks, Nicky. Ellen Washington with the paper.
Yep, members will recall that in November last year, we agreed to take a bold step forward in exploring deeper collaboration with our neighbouring councils and public sector partners. Today, we're not being asked to approve a concept or an aspiration, we're being presented with evidence of the progress of this. And I think what strikes me most about this report is that it demonstrates momentum. We now have a formal partnership involving Clackmannanshire, Falkirk and Stirling councils. We have established governance arrangements, a programme management structure, a joint staff forum, and a growing number of projects that are already underway. 8 of the 17 identified projects have commenced, with others expected to begin during the course of this year. And that matters because the challenges facing local government are well known. Demand for services continue to rise, financial pressure remains significant, and our communities rightly expect high quality public services. So for us, standing still is not an option. The opportunity before us is to think differently about how those services are delivered. And this programme, for me, is not about losing local identity. It's not about reducing our ambitions. It's about recognising that by working together where it makes sense, councils can become stronger, more resilient and more sustainable. The report highlights a range of areas where collaboration is being explored, from procurement and revenues and benefits to housing, roads, resilience and social care. And what unites all of these projects is a commitment to finding better ways of delivering services for our residents. Importantly, I think this work is being approached in the right way. There is no assumption that every proposal will proceed. Business cases are being developed, benefits will be rigorously assessed, and any future integrated arrangements will come back to elected members here for approval. The emphasis quite rightly has to be on evidence, outcomes and value. I also welcome the focus on engagement. Staff and trade unions are being involved through the Joint Staff Forum and employees are being kept informed as projects develop. And that's important because successful transformation can only happen when the people who deliver services every day are part of shaping that future. Perhaps most encouragingly, this work has already attracted national attention and support. The programme secured, as we know, £2 million of Scottish Government Invest to Save funding, demonstrating confidence in the direction of travel and helping us invest in change rather than simply managing decline. And as we've already said, we have another bid in for further funding from that funding stream. So I believe this report represents an important milestone. It shows a council that is prepared to be ambitious, prepared to work with others and prepared to explore new approaches to ensure that public services remain strong for the people who depend on them. The opportunity here for me is not simply to save money. The opportunity is to build services that are more resilient, more efficient and better able to meet the needs of our communities for years to come. There remains much work to do and rightly members will want to scrutinise future business cases as they come forward. But today we should recognise the significant progress that has already been made and support the continuation of this important piece of work. As I've said on many occasions, the choice facing local government is not whether change will happen, but whether we help shape that change. And this programme ensures that Clackmannanshire is helping to lead that change rather than simply reacting to it. It reflects a council that is looking ahead with confidence, embracing innovation and seeking every opportunity to secure the best possible outcomes for our communities. And I'm pleased to move the recommendations contained within the report. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lindsay, second.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, I'm pleased to support the recommendations as well. I'm pleased at the work that is ongoing with the three councils, and it's great to see the proactive nature of how Stirling has come on board, and actually the way in which they've done that, given the challenge that we had previously, and the change in leadership there has been a major factor within that as well. So pleased to note the high degree of collaborative approach to this, working across partners, the alignment that we're seeing with partners. I think the pace of progress as well is good. As Ellen's outlined, we need to make sure that the shared objectives that we're looking at are right for each individual council. That may change as has been drawn out in questions, but this is a proactive investment in change. It's essential for us as a council to change the way that we deliver council services, to become more efficient, to become more sustainable, and to deliver for our communities. So I think the pace at which that we're progressing with this transformation work is the right pace, because it's got to be fundamentally right for each individual council. So welcome the update today, welcome the collaboration that we're seeing, welcome the involvement of obviously the three councils, but that willingness to